This is my new look. Cowboy. Do you know what cowboy's hat? Or my cowboy's hat? Hang on, let me see if I can bring it down a bit further. I'm going to have to. I think it's going to be a fantastic weekend. I'm looking forward to it. I'm not sure if I should. There are a few problems out there at the moment. Everyone says you expect when someone that you liked has been murdered, right? And whilst I did not, I'll repeat this, I did not personally know or meet Anne Widdecombe. I did like her. I liked the fact that she was very forthright. I liked the fact she was a proper conservative, a real conservative. I liked the fact she was a Christian. And to anyone inquiring, I don't think she was a homosexual. I think she was in Christian celibate, right? And that takes some doing, right? Point of view, she didn't meet the right Mr. come along. It doesn't make her homosexual. That makes her character. That she's like, what do I want to get involved with all that for? If she's anything like my ex-wife, she'd think, yeah, it's too messy. Sorry, like Charles' ex-wife. As far as I'm concerned, and that means what I've been told through the grapevine, living in that her gardener was the one who, from what I understand, found her. He then called in emergency services. But they pulled right. From there, I know got nothing to do with say yes. He didn't personally know her protection like that. I'm seeing some weird and wonderful things out there. As far as I know, none of that is true. That's all massive speculation, propaganda, nonsense, right? No, there's the same police force where one of their officers disarmed a knifeman in Devon, right? Disarmed a knifeman, got hold of him on the floor, spun him on his front, was trying to put the handcuffs on, and he was screaming and shouting, and the copper shouted to him, "Stop screaming like a fucking bitch," right? When he just disarmed him, he had a knife, right? And he was putting handcuffs on him. And Devon and Cornwall police sacked, you heard me right, sacked the police officer for calling him a fucking bitch, right? As saying that he was screaming like a fucking bitch. And they sacked. So there is something seriously wrong with the Devon and Cornwall police, right? Never used to be, a long time ago. They was a proper police force, right? So getting back to this, and I'm gonna briefly show you this. I think, should I show you this? I think I should, because it sort of ties in, right? The person, I don't know, and this is speculation. And as you know, we've all been told not to speculate. So me being me, I'm going to speculate, right? And I could be way off the mark here, right? I think the person that they've arrested in Rotherham is either one of two things. So I'll get to the first, is a patsy, right? That means a scapegoat, someone they know or they've set up or they could get away with banging up, a bit like Lucy Letby, right? Or, and it happened before in London, do you remember with Jill Dando and George, I can't remember his last name. That could be a potential. But the other thing I wanted to briefly say is, as many of you are aware, and there is videos of this, I went to Rotherham to a protest, right? And at that protest, there was it was protesting about illegal migrants being held in a hotel. And the police tried to set everyone up, and they created a photo opportunity, which I could see and didn't like. They bust in a load of lefties, literally bust them in, coachloads of them's come in, and they wanted to get a photo opportunity. They had two sets of cages, and they was trying to get us to go in one of these sets of cages. And I said, I ain't come here for that. I am lawfully assembling on this side of the road. I am videoing the situation. I'm not going anywhere. And a copper come up. Everyone, there is a video of it where the coppers, and I said to him, "Why are you crooked?" And the sergeant went, "I beg your pardon," right? And he was standing there, and he had the badge on his helmet was crooked, right? I said, "Your helmet's crooked, your badge, right?" And he had to readjust it. But it was the way I said it. People thought it was funny because he was standing there talking to me on camera, and he had a crooked badge on his helmet, right? But one of the people that come up, there were three man of land people there, but one of the persons who come up to me was a guy called Peter Lynch, who is now deceased, right? So I'm not having a pop at Peter Lynch. But, right, so I shouldn't say but, because it's not a but about him. I'm going to continue with what I need to say. I had a load of our banners on my car, right? They was on the roof rack. And a group of three man of the landers, I believe, I don't know because I didn't see them do it, took them banners. One of the banners I've got to reorder. This was a long time ago and I still haven't got around to reordering it, but I've got to reorder it. It costs money. And they stole the banners off the top of the car, right? So they was having a pop at me. But these three man of the landers are very special needy, right? Or their audiences, I should say. Unlike this audience, right? So I know I'm sitting here talking to you with a cowboy hat on, right? But I'm sure you'll appreciate that we are going on a freedom festival for 3 days. So I thought I'd take my cowboy hat and my cowboy boots, right? And I'll be yeehawing in Norfolk, right? And talking about the American and the English Constitution. In fact, I might even take my English hat, which is over there as well. I'll have to pull that out. So I'll put my English hat on and I'll put my American hat on and say the constitutions are so similar. And what binds us both together is Anglo-Saxons, right? But getting back to the point, I think I might show you this. There is a group of people out there, not sure where that's come from, free speech groups with grants up to 3 million. Oh, that's good. Let's make sure we're on there. Can you all see me again? Something's going on with the laptop. I don't know what. I'm not really that concerned, but I do want to show you this. There is a particular group of people and they've been on Facebook for a long time. Some people are not going to like what I'm about to say, right? But to be frank, I don't care, because I think someone should say something about these people who have attacked me for at least 10 years, right? And there was a particular person, which I've got written down there, but I'm about to show you who they are, right? So just to make sure everyone's aware of this, I am not interested in this group of people at all, right? They was very aggressive online for a long time towards me. I'm not interested in anyone who's associated with them, and even if the person come along quite recently, 2, 3, 4 years or whatever, right? I mean, I'm talking about this group has been at it a long time, and they are very aggressive. I describe them as communist in nature, and I describe them as not just communist, but they're very similar group to the Chartists or the Levelers, right? Now, there were some elements of what the Levelers and the Chartists was ranting about back in the day that I absolutely agree with, being a working class person. What I don't agree with is the aggression that comes from these people, right? I'm going to tell you again, they're extreme lefty, and I've got a sneaky suspicion, and it is only a suspicion or massive, what's the word I'm looking for? Speculation, that the guy in Rotherham who has now been arrested, who they've said is a lefty, is potentially transsexual and is potentially part of this group, right? Just to let you know. I do not want anything to do with this group. I don't want anyone to send me anything from this group. I am not interested in particular people that are being promoted at the moment that are to do with this group. I'm not interested in another group called Article 61, which they're part of, and it's all part of the same little firm. It all comes from a guy called Ken de Alderney, right? I believe you pronounce it like that. Wrote a book called Democracy Defined, The Manifesto, right? They are very political. They are extreme lefties disguised as libertarians. There is nothing libertarian about these people whatsoever. I could use some extreme bad language now to talk about them, but I'm not. But what you see on your screen is practical lawful dissent. That's their emblem. Wherever you see that, you know that they are complete and utter see you next Tuesdays, right? And what has been put on the bottom of that, someone sent it to me, adults with special needs and learning difficulties, because that is the majority of their audience, right? Problem is, they are, and they can be very aggressive, because they did it with me years ago. There's particular people on Facebook that are very, very aggressive. They go around trying to get people blocked on Facebook, on Twitter, on all the platforms, on YouTube. They are the opposite of what they say they stand for. As far as I'm aware, they've never won a court, or anyone who's been involved with them's never ever been anywhere near a successful court case. And just to make sure I'm clear with this, the other person who used to advertise these quite a bit and allow them a platform quite a bit was UK Column, right? So long as I'm making it very clear to everyone listening to this, if you see that emblem that's on your screen in the shield, if you see practical lawful dissent, right? what that means is adults with special needs and learning difficulties, and they are very violent. You'll see their emblem. They slightly changed it. They've now got a black hand or a brown hand in a white hand. They're part of what's going on in the background, and it is just one part, the second part of the speculation. If the guy up in Rotherham, don't forget where my banners got stolen off the roof, where banners went missing. There were people there that were free man of the land. They're the ones who didn't know what the fuck they were doing. They're the ones, some of them probably got arrested with Peter Lynch, because he come up to me and said, we're going on a march. And I literally said to him, Peter, if you do that, if your foot touches that highway, they are going to arrest you, right? Whereas standing here in a lawful assembly, they cannot touch you because you're not moved. You've said what you're doing. You're going here and you're monitoring what's going on. They can't stop you, right? You're in a public area, and the police obviously didn't like it. They come and spoke to me. That video's online, right? I think it's on this channel. But my point to everyone is, these are not nice people, right? They will never get anywhere. I believe they are extreme left, right? So just to make sure. And if anyone wants this picture of practical lawful dissent and what it's got on there, adults with special needs and learning difficulties, and if you see anything that comes up from them, you can just send that and say, I'm not interested in what you're doing, right? So this person, there's a particular book called, I'm telling you what the book's called, Democracy Defined. In the original books, he never even mentioned a constitution. Someone else has recently put something else from them, Practical Lawful Dissent, and said he's written it on their behalf, where he references the British Constitution, right? So that tells you how much they know. There is no such thing as a British Constitution. All they talk about is the Magna Carta, the Magna Carta, and the Magna Carta. And just to let you know, when the original Magna Carta was sealed by King John, Scots in England were regarded as aliens. There was no such thing as British, right? They were regarded as aliens, and it doesn't mean we was nasty to them or in vice versa, but they were regarded as aliens, just as alien as a Frenchman, just as alien as an Irishman, just as alien as a German, even though the Germans didn't exist then, right? My point to you all is that their book, Ken Dowdeney, Democracy Defined, is now just updated it. Now they've started talking about constitution. Now they've started talking about statutes, right? Before I take you on to the next part of this, but his new book is called Democracy Defined, and then in inverted commas, the manifesto, right? Just think about what they're now arresting this fella, 28-year-old fella from Rotherham. They're saying they found information or something that associates him with political purpose or reasoning, and it is my opinion, strong opinion, and speculation, because we're not allowed to speculate, so I am, that he's probably in some way he's associated with this mob, right? Does everyone understand what I've just said? Now, most people who start listening to these idiots, right, 10% of them come out the other side and actually start looking at the Constitution as a whole, at the English Constitution, and start to fully understand that there is a Constitution and that we're not claiming our rights as English men and women, not as British, right? Because this practical lawful dissent absolutely believe that anyone can be British and that everyone is part of these islands, whether we like. In other words, they don't believe in borders, right? They are left wing as you can get, right? So that's all I'm going to say on them, right, at the minute. So let me take that down and then take you back, right? So just you know, technically the most powerful nation on earth is the United States of America. And one of the reasons is because it adopted the common law and the Constitution of England, right? The British didn't exist. So don't forget what I've just told you. At 1215, there was no such thing as British, right? And by the way, in 1215, there was no such thing as a jury as we know it today, right? It didn't come about to about 160 years later, right? So these people are talking absolute shite. But if there's people out, so I've already told you, if you're not an adult with special needs and learning difficulties, and you've come through the other side of these people, Hamlin Lectures, and again I've shown you these books. If you want a proper read, Hamlin Lectures, right? And again I could show you it on a thing. So Sir William Wade, Constitutional Fundamentals. The Common Law Constitution, Sir John Laws, one of our greatest judges. He was a scholar. And then you've got a whole book by, if I can't see it on there, I can't see it on there, but it is on there somewhere. Juries, and there's another one which is the Inheritance of the Common Law. All of that is a free resource where you just go and read them 4 books. They're only small. They're lectures, right? And all of a sudden, it will all start to appear to you, right? Without any of these idiots. So all I've done is just shown you. So just to make sure we're clear on this, I am not interested in them people whatsoever. I think they're highly dangerous. I think they are a regiment of the left that are steering people in the wrong direction. I've always said they're communists, right? Just to make sure you're aware of all that, right? So let me just make sure everyone gets that. Is anyone out there? Good evening, Patriots. Right, any questions on that before I show you the next bit that I want to show you? Any questions on that? Spooky Bum, I'm getting a bit frustrated trying to figure out a way. A way to what? There is a way. There's always a way. So Spooky Baba, remember this. It's an old saying. It's as true as the day is long, right? Where there's a will, there's a way. It's when you surrender and when you give up, it's the end. That's why you should never ever give up. Never give up. Ranger Seminar near you. Juicy and Lucy, Lone Star, Wilnut. Hi Lucy and Goosey. There you go. Good evening, Lone Star. Who's the what? Hi Lucy and Goosey. Evening. Hope you're having a good one, Juicy and Doocy. Wilnut. Good evening, Spycatcher. The common law will be demonized through this smear. Through what smear? Okay, Daddy, I'll never give up. Never surrender. It's the art of anything. Yeah. Listen, if you've ever seen a boxer, or remember how Manchester United used to play? The reason why people liked them so much was the way they used to play, right? Sometimes they could score 3 goals in the last 5 minutes from losing, and then just go bang, 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 bang. They had a mentality: we are going to win this, bang, and we need to win it, bang, right, bang, bang, right. That's how they used to work. How many times you seen someone go down on the canvas? All of a sudden they get up and go pop. The geezer's dropped and he's won. Never surrender. Let me have a look. Why would we want to concentrate on when there's many more constitutional acts. Right, so I'm now going to show you something else because I think this is really important. Anyone asking me a question? Constitutional common law always will always supersede local governance and administrative law. I don't disagree with you on what we've got to do. Let me have a look. Correct. Just the other. I could go in a bit more about on the tranny side of things, but twice I've been to a certain area in England, and again the free man of the land types have been there, and twice they've had trannies there. I mean, full Comanche, blonde wig, geezer, blonde wig, dress, skirt, high heel boots, and all that, and pink fingernails. I was like, what the fuck is going on here? Do you know what I mean? And I'm not. Listen, if that's their thing, but it ain't a bit of me, right? I don't want any involvement with it, and I honestly do believe they're mentally ill. Some of them, right? What I would say, you would never even know, right? I mean, there'd be a serious jury's inquiry, right? But they're not the ones, in my opinion, that are the dangerous ones. It's the ones that have got a big bit of growth, right? And they're wearing a bra and makeup, right? And it, they look like they've just come off the rugby field, right? You must see that there's something seriously wrong. I certainly do. We call them truck driver trannies. I don't know what they're called, but they're weirdos. Anyway, I want to get off of that because it's Stuart's inquiry, DD. Yeah, right. That's but a few places I've been to, and they're always free man and landers, right? From what I've seen, but and they've always been British. Right. So anyway, I've just thought I'd tell you that. I'm now going to show you something else because I think it's important, right? So we've sent a meme out. A couple of memes have gone out today. This one today went out, but there's another one that I've sent out. That's my pin tweet. I want as many people as possible to send it out. But this is what was crafted by Juicy and Lucy today. And again, it obviously comes from the Halsbury's Laws of England, as I think it says in the bottom one. 908 statutory limitations, and then it says the principal provisions from a constitutional standpoint, comma, are to be found in 4 great statutes or charters by which the rights and liberties of the subject, and they're talking about England, are preserved and the acts of tyranny by the Crown or its ministers restrained, right? And then it says number 2, right? So you go to footnote 2, which is down here. Hopefully you can see it if you can't see it, right? But then underlined, there's another little section there. Declarations of the fundamental laws of England, right? And there it is at the bottom, highlighted in green with an English flag, because it's England we're talking about, right? So don't forget this other mob. Massive mistake. Not a mistake. I mean, it's deliberate, right? But at point 2, it says what those are. So the Magna Carta of Edward I, 1297, right? Again, I would have slight arguments with that because I would say that that is a statute from that Parliament, but the original Magna Carta cannot, because for various reasons, it cannot be repealed or dismissed by Parliament. And the reason why it can't is because it wasn't within their jurisdiction. The next one is the Petition of Right 1627. That's one of the banners that went missing when I was in Rotherham. Then you've got the Bill of Rights of 1688, right? So again, they're naming these as constitute that they are the principal provisions from a constitutional standpoint. That's what it says in the law books, right? And then it says the Crown and Parliament Recognition Act 1689 and the Acts of Settlement of 1700. Right? What do you notice about all of those dates? So 1297, 1627, 1688, 1689 and 1700. What do you notice about all of those dates on them statutes? They are all prior to the Acts of Union. Right? They come from an English Parliament. Right? And this British Parliament cannot erase that, and if it tries to, it's unlawful, right? And if any king, any monarch, uses its prerogative, and its prerogative is to assent or dissent to any law, right? If it uses its assent, even by letters patent, in a negative way towards any of these laws, right, it has perjured its oath. And everything that come of that assent is null and void. That is the law of the land. I'm telling you the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Right? So again, you had, this is an old tweet, July the 15th. And I'm going to go back to it here, right? But I want everyone to understand this. Juicy and Lucy sent this out. Joe Rogan, Rupert Lowe, English exit, Restore Britain, W for Restore, Nat MG, Rupert said the magical words woohoo, right? So within within 15 minutes of me, as soon as that video was released, I clipped the last part of what he says here, right? So this is just a 30-second part, but I want everyone to understand what he just said. Listen again very carefully to what he is saying.
I've been fighting this march towards an unaccountable state which effectively rewards collectivism and punishes individualism, to the extent that now I find myself at the age of 68 as an MP running a party called Restore Britain to try and reverse this tide, to re-empower the individual, to return to our original constitution.
Right. Did you hear what he just said? If not, I'll take it back and you can listen to it again.
Constitution. Reverse this tide, to re-empower the individual.
That means the common law. And just to make sure everyone's got this, right? This man's been doing this probably longer, in terms of the way I'm doing it now, he's been doing it longer than me, right? Am I going to have the major respects comes out for what he's just said there? He's going to re-empower the individual and
to return to our original constitution.
Thank you. Right. Within 15 minutes of that video being released, I had clipped that, and a number of other people had clipped it, and we put it out there, right? And I said he will make mistakes, but I think he's bang with us. Now, just to make sure everyone gets this, statutory limitations, not just on the Crown, but on Parliament itself. Those law books tell you that, right? The principal provision from this book is constitutional law. This is the Houseby's Laws of England. The principal provisions from a constitutional standpoint are to be found in 4 great statutes or charters by which the rights and liberties of the subject are preserved and acts of tyranny by the Crown or its ministers restrained, right? And then underneath there at the bottom there, Declaration of Fundamental Laws of England, right? In the same paragraph, 908, right? They tell you what those acts and statutes are. Magna Carta of Edward I, 1297, Petition of Rights 1627, the Bill of Rights 1688, the Crown and Parliament Recognition Act 1689, and the Acts of Settlement of 1700. Anyone who's been to one of my seminars will know that the banners go up, right? And what we do is show you them laws, and I have done that for years and years and years, right? I'm asking, democracy defined, the manifesto, right? Can Alderney, which is basically, I believe, a Norman name, from French descent, and the Normans that come over and virtually destroyed England. What has he ever done? What have these people ever done? And the answer is nothing. Right? So I'm being straight with you. And again, I'm going to take this hat off because I am boiling, and I've got to take that with me tomorrow. Does everyone understand what I've just put out there? And everyone understands what that is. So what I'm going to do now is copy that link and see if we can get as many people as possible sharing it again. Right? Where have I gone? Oh, I've gone all the way over there. Does everyone get what I just said? Right. So again, I've got to go back in a studio. We have been muted, right? The English have been muted for a long time, right? And all I'm saying to everyone out there, it's time to unmute. It's time that the English stood up, right? It's time that the English went out there and told everyone who and what they are. Let me come off of this screen. Well, why didn't that come off? I'll tell you why, because it's there, right? So does everyone understand, right? Am I making myself clear to you wonderful people? Now, I'm making sure people understand what I'm saying. I'm not having a go at my audience or the people who have followed me in the past, right? That have stayed with me for years and years and years. But that group of people I showed you earlier attacked me online, got very nasty, got me banned on a number of issues, and they are literally, they operate the same as the left. Therefore, they must be a regiment of the left, right? And all I'm saying to you is, don't send me any of their shit because I'm not interested. And if you look at something that someone's just sent out in the last few days that people have sent to me, and I've laughed, on the front page it says the British Constitution, right? That tells you straight away that these people know nothing at all about the Constitution. They know nothing about where our Constitution come from, right? And just to emphasise the point again, in 1215, and bearing in mind our Constitution started before then, the Charter of the Liberties, right? The Charter of Liberties, right? 1100. In 1215, via deed of battle, the Magna Carta was put in place, right? It was sealed, not signed. But at that time, Scots and Irish, technically the Welsh, right, were known as aliens in England, the same as the French would be, the same as any other nation. They were named those aliens, and we didn't mistreat aliens, but they were known as aliens. They were not English, right? They were not of Anglo-Saxon stock, or at that time an amalgamation of the Danes, the Vikings, the Jutes, the Anglos, and the Saxons, right? I want everyone to understand that, right? The Scots did not become non-alien in England until 1603, when the crowns were joined. Now, I always said that the Acts of Union were the problem, and technically they are, right? Because it wasn't that bad prior to that. But prior to 1603, we were completely different administrations with different kings and different monarchies and different nation states. And it is now my opinion that that's the way it should return. And if Scotland wants to be a republic, I haven't got a problem with that. I do not want Roman law jurisdiction anywhere near England. I want England, Northern Ireland, Wales, Cornwall, right? Southern Ireland, it wasn't me that rewrote their constitution in 1936. It was the Fabian Society. They are responsible for the problem that they've got now, not the English, right? Just to make sure everyone's aware of that. Does everyone understood what I just said? And I will answer any questions on those two subjects. And if you think it's, let me have a look and see what comes up there. Any questions? Let's see if there's anyone. And if you want me to bring that up, I might even have a longer discussion on that tomorrow night, if I'm available tomorrow night. Let's have a look. I didn't know who's put that out. Oh, that looks good. The Trump administration is offering grants up to $3 million to European activist groups promoting free speech and opposing online censorship, with funding aimed at organisations challenging laws such as the EU's Digital Service Act, the UK's Online Safety Act. The initiative also backs groups critical to mass immigration policies, framing the effort as part of a broader effort to strengthen the free expression and civilisational self-confidence across Europe. I think we'll have a go at that. Anyone who can help me out with that? Anyone that can help us out with that? We've got two things. We've got the English Constitution Party and we've got the English Constitution Society. Has anyone seen this? This is really important, and I am grateful to the person who's just sent it to me. Right, we could do with $3 million in the bank as a grant, right? And let me tell you something, there is no group of people more active than us, right? So I'll read it out to you. The Trump administration is offering grants of up to $3 million to European activist groups promoting free speech and opposing, we're all about free speech, that's why I keep getting banned, opposing online censorship, with funding aimed at organisations challenging laws such as the EU's Digital Services Act and the UK's Online Safety Act. The initiative also backs groups critical of mass immigration policies, framing the effort as part of a broader effort to strengthen free expression and civilisational self-confidence across Europe. There it is. Our group must be bang on for that as an English Constitution Society and an English Constitution Party, surely, right? So anyone out there who can do a load of research into that and see if you can find the details, send me the emails in, do it yourself, make some inquiries. It would be really helpful, right? But I'll tell you now, we will go for that grant. If that is true, we will go for that grant, right? So let me stop that a second and go. Let me have a look. Why that particular mob? Someone has just asked, I don't know what the question is. Field systems. Why that particular mob? When you say, are you now talking about that idiots that I've just shown? Why they're the most aggressive. There are other groups. Article 61 is another group on Facebook. There's other groups, but they are literally special needs. And they have attacked me in the past. They will not accept that our constitution comes from England. They do not accept in any way that Britain is an island. It's not a country. There is that again. They're just massively brainwashed. And all they do really is promote what the other side want. And they steer people away. English Constitution. Concerning your book approach, it as would systems engineering, use examples of each right destroyed by Marxist government, just as a suggestion. Rebecca Hicks, contact me, because it's things like that. I genuinely want assistance from people. I don't do this on my own. I don't do anything on my own. We all work as a team. Ask anyone who knows me, right? So and there's layers of the team, right? If you put yourself forward and you help us, and even if it's with decent suggestions, and just to make sure, and I'm going to say this again, a very fair lady sitting to my left said something to me earlier today, right? I don't know if I should say the question or not. But I said something and she didn't understand it. And she said, and this is what she said to me, right? I don't want you to think I'm a thicko or a dickhead or whatever the word, or an idiot, right? But what is this, right? And I looked at her and said, I would never think you're a thicko for answering a question, asking a question. Only intelligent people ask questions. Only intelligent people put ways forward, right? The thickos are the ones with practical lawful dissent, right? Who sit in a way and then probably end up a bit like that. What was that film where the geezer was in the shower? Stabbing. Psycho, right? That's the type of people that they've got wrapped around them. Trust me, right? And again, UK column used to. So if you're genuinely helpful, don't think that listen. Not everyone can be a genius, right? Not everyone can be a genius, and I certainly don't fit the bill, right? But we work as a team. The more of us are pushing through ideas and pushing forward with things, the more likely we're going to. Let me tell you something. We have already made a massive impact, right? They wouldn't have been banning me on YouTube and banning me on Facebook and banning me on Twitter unless we was making an impact. They only do that to people who are making an impact. And as your channel grows, and then the ones that they're promoting, I mean literally promoting, right? But as soon as that person gets, or if someone starts to get into a position where they start earning money, it's the age-old thing. I can't say that because they might stop me income. Do you know my answer? Bollocks, right? I'd rather you stop my income than me being swinging at the end of a fucking rope because of you. See you next Tuesdays, right? And I'm talking about the government. Right, let me have a look. Jason, if Trump frees England, I'll be looking to have a seasonal home there during the Alaska winter. Listen, son, if you want me to find a gaff for you, I'll find a gaff for you. In fact, if you want a seasonal home here, Jason, I swear to God, right? Listen, I can't say too much on this show. I might talk to a few people about it over the weekend. But let me just say this to you. If you want to buy a seasonal home here and want me to look after it for you, and I will look after it, rent free, right? I'll look after it for you, right? This is sweet. You ain't got to pay me. I'll look after it for you, and then when you come over, I don't mind living in a camper van in the back garden while you're in the house, but I'll look after the gaff, right? I'll even tell you the best spots in the whole of Devon where you can buy a decent gaff, right? And it solves both our problems. Spooky Baba ban you when you highlight the truth. That's exactly what they do. That's exactly what they do. And worse. The skirt and the eat the what's that? Bee skin and eat the bastards. Yeah, cannibalistic's not a good thing though. Jock the lad, Ray Edmonds, good evening. Hello, Jock the lad. I ain't seen you for a while. Where you been hiding, son? Let me have a look. Who'sineurope.com. Gus Mooney, my son wrote this article on the English Constitution. He'd love any feedback. Substack. We need to know. Well, let me have a look at that. Let's see. Your son wrote this article. Let me have a look at this article. Now I'm trying to bring this up. Now I've got to try and bring the article up. Right, hang on a minute. Let's see if I can actually clip this and see if I can bring it up on. Oh, bollocks. Can someone send me that? Because every time I come off the thing to try and copy it, it shoots. I can't actually get to it. I can't get to it. Someone send me that in the chat, and I'll see if I can bring the article up. How's that? Lucky I ain't sworn in this episode. I want seasonal home there. You want a seasonal home where? You want a seasonal home where? Spooky Bubba. Buy a seasonal home in Devon, and I'll look after it for you. How's that? I asked the other week. You asked the other week what? Sounds, yeah, but it's got to be a permanent home. Spooky Bubba. Why though? Why though what? I'm not working at the moment. I've got all of the time in the world to research things for you. Neil Russell, you're a perfect person. Anyone who's retired, listen, we all work as a team, right? So if there is this group of people, if they're saying that they will give us money to fund what we're doing and get out there about free speech, let me tell you, start sending our seminars to them, etc. Let me have a look. Jason, wasn't the film 30 Days based on a... Oh, what's this? I said I wouldn't live too close to you and Janet. Spooky Bubba, you could, listen, wherever you want to be in Devon, right? And then Jason will go at the other end of Devon, right? And then we can swap like that. I can be the caretaker. As long as you keep the house long enough so I'm never homeless, right? Because that's what them bastards are trying to sort out now. Put Spooky Baby. I need a place over there. You should send me a message on Twitter. Fairbanks, the dead centre of the state of Anchorage, is on the south coast. I'd love to live in Alaska. You'd like Alaska, wouldn't you?
I love Alaska,
Yeah, because it's cold.
That's one of the places I've always wanted to go.
Yeah, well, Janet's always wanted to go to Alaska. Jason? Janet's always wanted to go to Alaska. I'm not sure about the bears, though.
No, you'd be right.
Huh?
You'd be right.
You sure? As long as you've got a gun.
No, you don't need a gun.
Why
Just
don't
need
you?
a thing to scare them off. You don't shoot bears.
You don't shoot bears?
No.
She reckons you don't shoot bears.
No, you just scare them off. You can't shoot them.
Well, how do you think that the Queen's Guard, what are they called?
Bearskins.
Where do they get their bearskins from?
I know, but I don't want you shooting bears. Let someone else do it.
All right. Anyway, we're having an argument about shooting bears. I wonder what bear tastes like.
Oh,
I'm being serious. Middlesex man, good evening. Listen, I ain't seen you for a while. Where you been hiding? I've been bringing up Middlesex, Middle Saxon, it was called. Very wooded and mountained. What is? No, I like the look. I'd move to Alaska tomorrow. Right, to arrange a seminar near you, Father Venue, Middlesex, man. Hello, who else is out there? Sounds idyllic, mate. It's a nuts. If you shoot, can I ask Jason a question? And this is a serious question, right? I want to ask this question. Is there anyone in Alaska that still speaks Russian? It's a serious question because it used to be Russian.
Yeah.
What you reckon there is?
No, yeah, it used to be Russian, didn't it?
Yeah, it used to be Russian. Can you tell me that? Is there anyone in there that still speaks Russian? Bear is greasy. He said bear's greasy.
Oh, no, we don't know that.
Oh, well, I won't have none of that. And it might set off me non-gallbladder. Spooky bugger, just bad people. Alice, gorgeous. Would you club a cub?
No.
I've been told I'm not allowed to do that, so I will go with the consensus. Night. God bless. Let me have a look. Just stay in Devon, DD. It's lovely there. Spooky Bubby, yeah, crawl people. Who are? Rusky confused with Husky. Ray Edmonds. Let me go and have a look. Someone's just sent me a message, I'm sure of it. Let's have a look. Right, let's see if I can bring this up on the screen. Let me get this off the screen. Right, let me see if we can share this. What I'm worried about is if this if this turns out to be anything that's free man of the land eat. That's why I don't like showing these. L. Taylor. I'll soon tell you. I'll read the first 5 parts of it. How we might re-establish democracy. Yeah, right. So the first thing is you don't want to re-establish democracy. You want to re-establish the constitution, right? What we all need to know about our constitution, legal versus constitutional. If you were to give someone authority over law but place no restrictions on that authority, then you would have created a dictator, which is currently what the Parliament has done. Clearly, it is desirable to have restrictions on all legal authority. There is, because if not, then you are left at the mercy of others, relying on their good graces for the continuance of your life and liberty. I agree with that. Perhaps the most important purpose a constitution serves is to set out the limitations on authority. I'd agree with that. For example, the right to life can be considered constitutional in nature because it declares that no one can have the legal authority to take another one's life. Anyone who kills cannot have the authority to do so, and so they are punished. You mean murders, right? This often comes up, right? So I'm being a critic, right? Anyone who kills cannot have the authority to do so. That's not quite true. Because if you was to say that there are capital offences, and if you murder or rape, and the capital punishment for that is to be hanged by the neck until you are dead, then the hangman and the people that carried out that hanging, including the legal process, cannot be done for murder. And it's one of the reasons why they put a black cap on, by the way. So there is a difference between lawfully executed and killed, right? Thus, the question arises as to who should have authority to change the constitution. In some cases, no one, which is exactly why in perpetuity, forever, all time to come was put in place by statesmen of England with a number of our statutes. The question arises, who should have the authority to change the constitution? If you give someone unlimited authority over the constitution, then they could grant themselves unlimited legal powers. And you have once again created a dictator, right? So I think this would be, I'm going to keep that up there, but I'm going to try and bring something else up, right? Because this is very good so far, but I need to put this up there. And I don't think that every part of this is correct, by the way. But I do want to show you something that is said on another website that is true. Is that what he says? That is it, right? So I'm going to bring it up. This is William Pitt, 1st Earl of Chatham, 1708 to 1776. So I'm going to go back to this. I'm going to share this one and show you. So in relation to what that's just said, William Pitt, 1st Earl of Chatham, 1708 to 1778. This is from everyright.org. And this is a direct quote. Instead of the arbitrary power of a king, we must submit to the arbitrary power of the House of Commons. If this be true, what benefit do we derive from the exchange? Tyranny, my lords, is detestable in every shape, but none so formidable as where it is assumed and exercised by a number of tyrants. But my lords, this is not the fact. This is not the Constitution. We have a law of Parliament, and we have a statute book and the Bill of Rights. Right, so just to make sure you can all see that, there it is there. That is exactly what this guy has just written in there in effect. Right, so share this tab instead. Right, so legal powers, legal and trust, constitutional authority. In most places, such as France, India, or the USA, the Constitution is written and cannot be changed by the same process as regular laws. This prevents the lawmakers from legislating themselves into absolute power. That existed in this country as well. It's just the fact that people have been defrauded, and our gutless solicitors, barristers, and judges have not stood up against it because they're part of it. This prevents the lawmakers from legislating themselves into absolute power, at least in theory. In practice, any system can be corrupted, and a constitution does little good if it's not enforced. That's exactly what I keep telling people. For a fairly uncontroversial example, it has never been settled in court whether George W. Bush's declaration of war on Iraq was unconstitutional. If the American Constitution had been properly enforced, the war would possibly never have began. I don't disagree with that. Here in the UK, however, it is said we have an unwritten constitution. Put another way, we do not distinguish between constitutional and non-constitutional laws. That's incorrect. As a result, the legislator can alter the constitution as easily as the rest of the law. That's not the case. This would imply Parliament has unrestricted legal power. In fact, we are told that Parliament does indeed have omnipotence power over our laws, a principle known as parliamentary sovereignty, and that this is the fundamental principle of the UK Constitution. Yet our historians assure us that these lands have never known such an arbitrary power. Okay. So it looks like he's sort of explaining it as we're going through. So where I'm saying that's not true, I'm hoping he's then agreeing that it's not true. But just to give it justice, because I'm being critical as I read it, it's the first time I've seen this. Indeed, the whole ideal concept of the sovereign as one above the law, as one incapable of doing wrong, as the source from which all authority of every kind issues, is purely a lawyer's conception. And rests upon no ground whatsoever in the records of our early history. I don't know about that. Edward Augustus Freeman, The Growth of the English Constitution from the Earliest Times. I've got books that say different to that, by the way. The absence of arbitrary power on the part of the Crown, of the Executive, and of every other authority in England has always seemed a striking feature, and we might almost say the essential characteristic of the English Constitution. A.V. Dicey, Introduction to the Study of Law and Constitution, 8th edition, page 105. By the way, his second book, at page 276, I think it is, he actually states in there that there are certain unalterable laws. And those are the ones with particular phrases: in perpetuity, forever, in all time to come, right? And they were solemn in the way that they was enacted, right? But in all the strictness, the ministers are responsible before the courts of law and before the ordinary courts of law. Well, if they weren't corrupt, they would be. Modern statute law has endowed them with many great powers, but the question whether they have overstepped those powers can be brought before a court of law, and the plea that this is an official act, an act of state, will not serve them. I agreed. I read that out the other day from Halsey's Laws of England. A great deal of what we mean when we talk of English liberty lies in this. Frederick W. Maitland, The Constitutional History of England, page 484. So how are we to reconcile the supposedly unrestricted powers of Parliament with the absence of any arbitrary authority? The answer lies in subtle assumption we make when we speak of parliamentary sovereignty. The assumption that because Parliament passes a law, we must be obliged to obey it. This assumption is implicit in all conversations about parliamentary sovereignty today. But I claim this is actually a more modern invention, it is, that has no historical basis. Indeed, the above quotes from Freeman in 1872, Maitland in 1908, and Dicey in 1915 provide us the evidence that this interpretation of parliamentary sovereignty is barely 100 years old. I absolutely agree with that. People often conflate the sovereignty or supreme legislature, in other words, people who make the law in the Commons and the Lords, with parliamentary sovereignty. That is not true. In fact, the person who directly said that parliamentary sovereignty is not a fact in law. What is, and this is me paraphrasing, what is sovereign is the Constitution, right? And that was Sir John Laws. Just to make sure everyone's aware of that. So, and again, there is a hierarchy of laws in this country, and that was settled, and it's been settled law since 2002. And I can't believe the argument was even put to the court, but it was. That there is a constitutional hierarchy of laws, namely constitutional acts of Parliament, ordinary acts of Parliament, and then there are sub-acts underneath that. So, for example, regulations or statutory instruments, and then below that are rules, right? So the prison rules, for example, are exactly that, right? And that means anyone who is the governor of the prison has to act in a certain way towards prisoners. If they don't, they're acting unlawfully. So we're supposedly unrestricted. The answer lies in a subtle assumption respect parliamentary sovereignty. So I've gone through that. The rule of law. Please consider the Bolden section of the third quote above. Maitland makes it a clear distinction between courts of law and the ordinary courts of law. But why? What's the difference? One key difference is that an ordinary court always has a jury. Don't quite get that one, but I believe that all courts should have juries. I'd have to go through the jury book to find out when they started to change that, but it's certainly to do with misdemeanors. And felonies, but you'd have to go. That goes a bit more. That goes a bit deeper than what this article is. So again, it's very easy to read something and throw off at a tangent. Officials are, like everybody else, accountable for their conduct to an ordinary court of law and to a court. Be it noted, where the verdict is given by a jury. Dicey Law of the Constitution, 8th edition. Right. This equal accountability of all individuals, including government ministers, and that includes all Crown servants, that includes civil servants, that includes judges. Even judges are not allowed to break the law. They can be impeached. They've now changed the name of that. What is the wording? I said it on the show the other day. There's a particular wording they use for it now. Fundamental principle of the Constitution and the greatest protection against tyranny, according to the Dicey, the man credited with popularising the term rule of law. Dicey didn't get everything bang on, by the way. He was only one scholar. I suggest anybody and everyone should read the Hamlin lectures, especially before they write a piece like this. Not because I disagree with most of what's coming out here, but because I don't. But there's elements to it where don't put too much reliance on A.V. Dicey. The rule of law, lastly, may be used as a formula for expressing the fact that with us, the law of the Constitution is not the source, but the consequence of the rights of individuals, as defined and enforced by their ordinary courts. Thus, the Constitution is the result of the ordinary law of the land. Dicey, law of the Constitution. All right, I wouldn't particularly want to disagree with that. To illustrate the difference between the rule of law and parliamentary sovereignty, imagine that the government passes a Eugenics Act. It appoints a eugenics minister to euthanize anyone diagnosed with ADHD. I've had arguments about this type of thing. If you were to bring this minister before a court with accusations of murder, they would tell you that so long as this minister has acted in line with the legislation, then they have committed no crime. I agree. It's called an enabling act. It's what the Nazis did. If you were to insist that regardless of what the Eugenics Act says, murder is unlawful, they will tell you Eugenics Act clearly defines conditions under which it is legal, which goes back to capital punishment, what I spoke about earlier. They will tell you that eugenics clearly defines conditions under which it is legal. If you were to protest that murder is obviously wrong and that Parliament cannot possibly make it legal, the courts are bound to disagree. Under the modern interpretation, parliamentary sovereignty means that Parliament has the power to make any law, no matter how immoral or damaging, even if it's contrary to the fundamental principle of human rights, and that modern judiciary will not contradict government legislation. Yes and no is the answer to that. But I agree with this argument that's being put, because this is the very argument I put to that barrister geezer who blocked me on Twitter, because he's gay, actually bisexual. He was putting an argument that Parliament is sovereign and they can make and break any law. And the argument that the barristers normally use is if Parliament was to create a law where all blonde-haired, blue-eyed babies should be put to death, it would be perfectly legal. So I argued with him, one, it was racist. Why did you pick blonde-haired, blue-eyed babies? And the second, if we was to change the criteria and say all gays, all homosexuals, all bisexuals, what would you say to that? And he blocked me. Right? So just to let you know, they don't like it when what I describe as intelligent working class people come back with arguments, because to be fair, most of these people, including that guy, someone will have to give me his name in the chat. The man is a complete and utter prongo. And there's many of them as barristers. And those same plonkers are then made judges. That's the issue that we've got. It is DEI in action, right? So just to make sure. I'm sure someone else is now sending me messages. Well, I don't want to go on too long with this, but if anyone wants to click on that, they can. Did you just send me a message? Someone just sent me a message. Let me have a look and see if I can see my message. Let me have a look. I want to know why. You can rescind your right. You can. And the best way of doing that is next time you're going to vote, right? I do not consent. Ashby Worshi's White 1703. So the question was, I want to know why can't we just all rescind our consent to be governed? But you would all have to do it. If we aren't governed by any one institution, let's see this question, then there will be no law and order. the problem, in my opinion, is a paid PM MP. They only have the money interest at heart. Whoops. Whereas a successful business owner would know how to run a country without being paid to do so, therefore leaving less of a chance of corruption. I don't disagree. In our laws and procedures of being subverted, Graham would probably answer that a lot better. Oh, I misunderstood that. Okay, whatever. I've probably just read out a complete load of bollocks because it was a blonde that wrote in there. Let me have a quick look on here. Hopefully this is not coming up on my screen. I don't know who these people are. There you go. Right, so there's loads of people turning up. Let's see if any of this has come out. So there's lots of things going on. Let me have a quick look. Now we're going back to this thing. I'm not sure if I'm going to have time to read all this out. There's loads of it, by the way. Democracy and jurisdiction. If anyone wants me to read this out, say, I don't know, it'll probably be next week now. Let's have a look to see who this is. How many is this person? Let's see. How many subscribers has he got? It is interesting. It is interesting. I'll probably have another read of that later. Only because I've got to be getting ready to go tomorrow. So what I've read so far, I don't disagree with a lot of it. And I do want to say this. I want people to start thinking about the Constitution. I want people to draw out as much. There'd be things on there that I could read through and he's probably put a quote and I thought, where's that come from? And I'll look at it and go, oh, wow, I'll get that book. Or the wonderful audience who tell me where to go and find it. Spooky Barrister, that's it. Spooky, you've hit it. The nail on the head yet again. Barrister Stephen Barrett, yeah, the gay one, or whatever he is. It's a full Comanche homosexual, but he didn't like it at all. Right? I thought that was a fair comment, right? So you tell me, you're the audience, right? You're the jury, right? He's put a scenario out there that Parliament can make or break any law it wants, right? Or repeal any law it wants, right? I'm saying it can't. He's saying if Stephen Barrett was saying and this is what the legal profession say, by the way, and this is probably why they was banned originally from becoming MPs for at least 18 months. If they've ever been a solicitor barrister, and I don't think judges was allowed to be MPs. They could be laws, but not MPs. So this is the point. When we change the analogy or the argument or the test or the condition of the law, i.e. all blonde-haired, blue-eyed babies, it would be perfectly legal. And I said, okay, well, let's change that because it's racist. Let's change it to all homosexuals. Right? And he blocked me. Funny that. Let me have a look. Captain Beaky, Spooky, Wilnut, Fudge Packer. Let's have a look. Hello. Right, any questions from anyone? I am grateful for everyone tuning in. Like I say, I've put a few things and I've put a little bit out there again tonight. Tomorrow I've got a long drive, so and I've got to be very, 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 very careful with me back. So I will be there. Hopefully, I will do a show tomorrow night. Even if I do one, I wonder if I could. I don't know if I could. I might.
We've got dinner at 7:15.
Eh?
Got dinner at 7:15, I think, isn't it?
I thought it was 7. Whatever. I might do one earlier, but I'll get up there anyway. I might show you around or something. Good evening. That's it. I'm off. Don't forget what I believe in. The Constitution is the solution. Ray Edmonds, good evening. I think there's plenty going on in the background. Janet, be careful with his back. Thank you. She has to be careful with me heart. Night, Graham, enjoy. Well, 24 karat iron. Yeah. Thank you, DD. Good night and God bless. And don't forget, never surrender. Don't forget what I believe in. The Constitution is the solution. Never leave faith in England or the English, because we are coming back with a vengeance. That's it. Good night. God bless. Tiddly poo and all that.